All right, everyone. Welcome back. Today I want to talk a little bit about your rotator cuff. If you don't know what your rotator cuff is, it's all right. We're going to start right at the very beginning. So your hip is a nice big ball with a great big huge hole that it sits in, and it's pretty much completely covered. Your shoulder doesn't work that way at all. You still have the big ball that's on your humerus or your upper arm bone, but you have more like a cup that it sits in, and it kind of rides around in there. And like I said before, the hip is pretty much completely enveloped. It's a much more secure joint. So the shoulder has four muscles that make up your rotator cuff, which work to stabilize the shoulder joint. These four muscles help to keep other muscles that are moving your arm from pulling that ball out of the little saucer. If these muscles get overtaxed, they get trigger points, they become strained, then those muscles don't do as good a job stabilizing that shoulder position. And then you run into problems where your shoulders don't stay in position. You end up with, where you see everywhere, with the shoulders rounded forward because other muscles have overpowered those small stabilizer muscles. So your four rotator cuff muscles are supraspinatus, infraspinatus, subscapularis, and teres minor. Sounds really fancy, but the names will help you remember where they are. You have a spine on your shoulder blade. If you reach over your shoulder, you'll feel a bony ridge running right here. That's the spine that supraspinatus and infraspinatus are referring to. So above it is supraspinatus, below it is infraspinatus. Supra for superior or above, infra for inferior or below. So that's how you can remember where those two muscles are. Teres minor, which is the weird one of the group, somehow just has a random name, is right below infraspinatus. It's down here at the bottom of the shoulder blade. And then subscapularis is the hardest one to work. It's also the most unpleasant one to work. It's sandwiched between, so you have your shoulder blade and your rib cage. It's under here, attached to your shoulder blade. So I'm going to show you a few ways that you can work on these muscles and hopefully relieve some of that tension that's built up in them and restore some normal shoulder function. A common indication that you have rotator bind-ups is if you hear or feel popping or clicking in your shoulders. Those are knots in the muscle rubbing against all the bony surfaces like your shoulder blade, your collarbone, or your ribs. And that's what's making that sound. Those muscles aren't sliding smoothly across the surfaces. But in order to work these muscles, it's going to go a lot easier with some tools. So I'm going to show you a couple things I like to use and explain how I use them. So these are my two favorite tools for working pretty much everything on my body. The only other thing that I use regularly would be some kind of roller. This, you can use any kind of ball. This is just one of Kelly Starrett's mobility wad balls. It has a little bit more texture, so it can kind of like grab and pull and separate the fascia a little bit better. But if you want to go cheap and easy, go to your local sporting goods store and get a lacrosse ball. It's going to work almost as well. And if you lose it, you're not going to be out, like, I think this one was like 40 or 50 bucks. Lacrosse balls, you can buy those things like 3 to a pack for like 15 bucks, I think, last time I bought them. So you can lose them and you won't lose any sleep over it. This is a Theracane. This thing is freaking awesome. It's good at getting into your neck or your back, any place you have a hard time reach. It actually does a pretty good job on the bottom of your feet too. They're really handy. I think this was about 60 bucks. You can order them on Amazon and, you know, keep one in a car, keep one at the office, and keep one at your house. They're really that handy. So I'm going to show you a few ways that we can work these different muscles and help you get a little relief from all your shoulder tension. All right, so I'm going to start showing you guys how to work infraspinatus. That one causes probably the most problems in your rotator cuff. It binds up, it causes weird pain in places that aren't the muscle. So remember, infraspinatus is the one on the back lower part of your shoulder blade. It's a big fan muscle that attaches here like this. So we're going to use the ball for this one, and I'm just using my front door because it's the most convenient flat surface in my apartment here. So what you're going to do is take this ball and you're going to position it along your shoulder blade towards you can see towards the middle of my back here, not out here towards my side, but towards the middle of my back. And then you're just going to find a flat wall And what you're going to do is kind of roll from the middle of your back towards your side like this. And you're going to feel while you're doing it for spots that are really sore. And you can moderate pressure by using your feet to sort of push into the door. So the harder you push into the door, the more pressure you're going to get. Start really, really light on this one because this muscle can be pretty painful. It'll take usually a few rolls past a spot before it starts to hurt, but once it starts to hurt, it can hurt quite a bit. So go really slow and just reposition the ball as needed so that it stays in the spot where you're actually working the muscles. This door kind of sucks for working because I got to stay right in this little rectangle, but I don't have a better spot to do it in here. So you can just do this several times a day, and that'll help break up all the adhesions in the muscle and let everything slide more normally over the surface of that shoulder blade and along the surface of your humerus, your upper arm bone too. Now, you can also try to work supraspinatus this way, but it doesn't work very well. You get into kind of a weird angle like this. If you want to try and do it that way, you're just going to position the ball right above this bony ridge on your shoulder blade. Put the ball right there, kind of lean in, and just roll across. For this one, I much prefer the Theracane. All right, the way I use the Theracane on this one is I'm working my left side here, so I'm going to grab the top of the Theracane like this with my right hand and then grab the lower handle with my left hand. I'm going to find, just like I said with the ball, you're going to find that bony ridge and push the hooked end of the Theracane right in there. And then I'm going to moderate pressure actually with my left hand and just kind of guide with my right hand. And this way you can get a very slow, controlled slide across the top of your shoulder blade, and you can just kind of work that whole muscle out. This one can cause a lot of popping and grinding sounds in your shoulder because you have your shoulder or your shoulder blade and your collarbone that come across here, and then there's a little gap right here that the muscle actually runs through to your arm bone. So it doesn't come on top of those bones, it goes between this tiny little gap. So if supraspinatus up here on top of your shoulder blade starts getting kind of crunchy, you're going to feel some popping and grinding in your shoulder probably. It's just the muscle sliding unevenly across bones. I also like the Theracane for teres minor. Remember, that is the one that is also attached to the back of your shoulder blade, but runs below the infraspinatus. So for that one, I like to grab with my left hand, because I'm working my left side, on the unhooked grip, the bottom grip, and then cross underneath like this with my right hand. And then I can reach back around here and just kind of slide from my shoulder blade towards my side to hit that muscle a little bit. This one is not as common a problem as the first two I mentioned. Now, the really problematic one is subscapularis because, like I said, it's between the shoulder blade and the rib cage. It's in a little sandwich. So the best way to get in for this one, it's really unpleasant. If you're a guy, I almost never wear a shirt. I recommend you wear a shirt for this one because your fingernails will start to dig into your skin. That's the other thing you want to do, is make sure your fingernails are cut really short for this. So what you're going to do is kind of chicken wing yourself. You're going to bring your hand around behind your back, and this will make your shoulder blade flare out. So hand around behind your back and chicken wing out. And then you're going to have to trace against your own rib cage here until you get all the way past the meat of your lats, which is really hard for me after all the rock climbing, and you'll hit bone. And right at that bone, so you'll feel your rib cage I'm right in here, I can feel my rib cage, and then when I chicken wing over, my shoulder blade is going to slide out past my rib cage like this. Then I can come in here and actually put fingers up against the front side of my shoulder blade. So here, slide in against the ribs, stay tight to the ribs, find the shoulder blade, and then you can just, and what I usually do is just do a little motion like this and just stroke down from the top of the shoulder blade down to the bottom. And it's really light pressure, but I mean, it's really, really uncomfortable. Those muscles get pretty tight in there, and it's really unpleasant to work. You have to have a decent amount of flexibility to work them yourself. This is the sort of thing that it might be easier to go see someone who does massage or just get somebody to help you. The one downside to getting somebody to help you, if they don't know massage very well, it's going to be really easy for them to go way too hard and cause a lot of pain. So those are some basic massage techniques that you can use on yourself to help get a little bit more play in your shoulders and tone up those rotator cuff muscles a little bit. If you got something out of the video, hit that like button. If you have more questions or comments or want to see more about this, hit the comments down below or check out my website at benjaminSmith.com. And please subscribe. It helps me bring you more content. Good luck, and in the meantime, keep your life in motion.